There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want.
Government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, from Charlotte, another line going from in Florida down to Tampa of Putin's kleptocracy. Yeah. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put the idea that Los Angeles and what am I doing? Let's be clear. I hear it all the time. Cumulative deficit, I can play for the programs many times over.
Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
Let me start off with two words. Made in America. Made in America.
Welcome back to another night of Shtick with Koolfrogg. Oh my God. What's up, America shirts?
Hello.
Hello. Started off back to basics. Back to basics. For those of you that have not heard or have not understood, waking up, the show in itself will cease to exist whatsoever. Back to basics. We will be doing Shtick with Koolfrogg on a nightly basis. Scheduling is going to be something that we'll actually figure out a little bit more in depth, and we'll actually see how far that actually can go and where we can actually make that work. Let's say hi to everybody real quick. What's up, Boomer? Good to see you. I did see that you were in chat with me that you were getting tired, so I'm assuming that you may not actually be here. Hello, Daisy Girl. Good to see you. Hey, Caitlin. Shizzy Wiznut. Good morning from Italy. Awesome.
That's
Glad that you're still out there. What's that?
I said that's just Fonse. He's in Italy.
Yeah. Well, whatever. It's fun. It's very interesting to have a friend that's actually gone to the point of actually doing such a fun thing and taking that trip. Hello, Rose. How are you doing, dear? Good to see you. There's plenty to talk about tonight. I got several articles up from things that have happened within the last few days.
A word from our sponsor, the aliens. Well, no, actually, we're not sponsored.
The 8 foot, 9 foot, 10 foot bubble-eyed,
purple skinned.
I mean,
blue-haired. Oh wait, sorry, that's the Lickards. They are kind of alien, though. Actually, if you think about it.
Well, kinda.
We'll sorry, Shizzy, if your wife was listening.
Oh no, that was a little rough, but
I mean, I don't know. I heard a birdie say something about like his wife being of the more politically left, so I didn't want to like ruin his trip in Italy or something.
Sure.
You might want to stop listening now. If that's true.
Before we actually
The
get
little-
into the news here, because of the way things have happened, and I've watched numbers over and over again because of the way how things were working. I had lost some 30-ish subs or whatever beforehand. Hopefully those 30 can actually see that I've actually gone back to the basics and they'll actually come back and resub. Since this current change in the news that's come along with that, I've noticed that we've actually dropped down to somewhere about 993. Not a big deal, as I'll keep the channel active as long as I possibly can to actually keep things going. Let your friends know where you hang out, where you're at, and hit that like button for me. Get them to all come
Right.
join
Haven't you
us
ever
yet
heard the
one
safety
more
rules?
time.
You always go with a buddy. You always go with a friend, right? You never go anywhere without a friend, right? Well, it's the same thing here. It's like you never like attend a Shtick with Koolfrogg without telling several friends where you're going and where you're going to be.
Tell your friends.
It's a safety
when it
precaution.
comes
It's a
down
safety
to
thing.
it, if you like what you hear here,
Allegedly.
be sure to hit that like button. If you don't like what you hear, hit that like button and leave a comment down below and let me know what I can do better.
Just be better. Oh,
Just
God,
hit that
be
like
better.
button. Either way. Either way. That's the thing that matters. All right, let's do this. Let's do this. I got lots of different articles that I have pulled up here. I don't know if those sitting in Discord have actually realized that I actually went live. I'm assuming
Oops.
eventually, like, oh, he's live. And Church is there.
I am.
Yes. Yes. Here you go. We'll do some international stuff first. So there you go. Chinese fighter jets crossed Taiwan Strait for second time in a week. Second time in a week. So, it seems almost imminent at this point that their tactics of whatever they are trying to do really seems to have actually gone to the point that they're just going to continue to do whatever it is that they need to do to practice to get ready for this potential war with Taiwan, or we might as well just call it the island of Taiwan, however you want to go about it.
Taiwan.
Taiwan.
I love it.
Yes. Great. So it says 10 Chinese fighter jets crossed the median line in the Taiwan Strait, which serves as an official barrier between Chinese and Taiwanese forces for the second time in less than a week. Taiwanese forces spotted 24 Chinese Air Force planes, including a J-10, J-11, J-16, and Su-30 fighters, as well as H-6 bombers. At 2 p.m. local time on Sunday, Reuters reported 4 Chinese naval ships engaging in joint combat readiness patrols were also seen. On Thursday, 37 Chinese military aircraft flew into Taiwan's air defense identification zone, Breitbart reported. Some of the planes carried out in aerial surveillance and long-distance navigation training, the ministry said in the statement. China does not recognize the median line nor Taiwan's sovereignty. The island split from China in 1949 after forces fled from the communist regime. For the past year, Chinese aircraft have crossed the barrier. In response to the Chinese aggression, Taiwan has deployed its own fighter planes, ships, and land-based missile systems. Chinese forces have simulated the invasion by surrounding the island, according to Taiwan officials. In response to the growing Chinese aggression, the Taiwan government reportedly bought 400 U.S. anti-ship missiles in April. Bloomberg reported. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin said the deal will undermine China's sovereignty and security interests, according to Bloomberg. China said its growing aggression towards Taiwan is due to its relationship with the United States. The United States pursuing diplomatic relations with Taiwan is allegedly in violation of the CCP's One China policy, recognizing Beijing as the sole government of China. Earlier this year, Taiwanese President Xi Ing-wen traveled to the United States and met with Speaker Kevin McCarthy. In response to Chinese vessels started a joint patrol and inspection of the central and northern waters of the Taiwan Strait. PBS reported Taiwan authorities said this action has jeopardized regional stability. And it really seems that it has actually jeopardized the regional stability, and they're going to continue. Though it's saying that this is the second time this week, this is something that's been going on for some time. We've actually covered this several times, and we've actually brought this to everybody's attention each and every single time that we notice that they bring up China and Taiwan. I really do feel that war is potentially imminent for them, and as the United States doesn't like to stay out of anybody's wars, there's a potential that we would actually intervene in some way, shape, or form, along with maybe Taiwan. I don't know. It depends on who's the president at the time, I suppose. Because if we look at look at Joe Biden and his ties to the Chinese government, you kind of it kind of makes you wonder just a little bit on what could actually come of such a deal. Thoughts? No? Nothing from the America shirts. He's like, whatever. Old news. Old news. Maybe he doesn't realize he's muted. Okay. Perfect.
Sorry, I had to scurry out of the room. My dog is misbehaving. She's behaving very poorly.
So, imminent threats from China towards Taiwan. Did you have any thoughts on that before I actually move on to this Northrop Grumman thing?
Well, what I will say myself is about this whole thing is I don't think they actually want a war with China, our side.
No, Taiwan doesn't. China wants war with Taiwan.
No. I mean like us, like the United States, just from our perspective.
No, right.
I don't think that our elites actually want that. I think they want a Cold War, as I've said like numerous times. But however, between China and Taiwan, I don't think they'll actually get to that point myself because of the control of our elite people over China. Still, even though Xi would like to not be, perhaps this is sort of an effort for Xi to like kind of, get out from underneath of their thumb, if you will, and kind of do his own thing. It'd be like, hey, I'll be in business with you, but I'm the boss here in China, right? Like, so maybe that's what's going on, but I don't think it's an actual effort to do this. I think Xi himself wants to do this. I think he's trying to do it, but I don't think that he actually will be able to, because there's too many other things that have to be, too many other hurdles that he'd have to go over to break ways.
That's pretty much those hurdles
globalist
that he's
elite
actually
people.
jumping right now as we speak, though, is that he's actually sent out several boats that have been sitting, around, and this is the second time in a week that he's actually thrown air missions in and around the area. It seems as though they're pushing.
Well, that's not the hurdles I'm talking about. I'm talking about like economic.
No, right. I'm
political,
just saying. It seems as they're pushing the point. They're pushing the point.
I think
of
Xi
where
does
they wanna
want
go.
that, though.
And well,
Xi's
I'm
said many
concerned
times,
with
and other
where
military people said
Joe
many
Biden
times they want
decides
that.
to go with it. That's what I'm
Right.
talking. This is where's Joe Biden going to go? Because if Joe Biden's in the back pocket, or if of China, is he going to back China, or would he back Taiwan? Because Taiwan's big, huge interest of the states. So it's kind of
Joe Biden will back whatever
interesting
his
thought.
his puppeteers tell him to back. Now, of course, the question is like, who has more influence? I think the global elite people have more influence than the Chinese do.
So
Joe Biden.
I'm gonna actually throw this back up here so you can see where this is the article that we were talking about here. It says Chinese
Yeah.
fighter jets cross Taiwan Strait for the second time in a week. And I did read through it, so as far as that goes,
And I don't think our global
multiple
elite people
times.
like this kind of behavior. I don't think they do. I think
No.
Xi, like I said, wants to try to, kind of be like, hey, he wants to be like Stalin, be like, okay, we can do business, but I'm still the mafia boss of China, right? Like I'm still the mafia boss, like Stalin said about Russia, right? He kicked out the Trotskyites, right? Like Xi Jinping is trying to kick out like George Soros funded stuff. All these sort of Trotskyite types, if you will, from China, all these really radical leftoid people who are like LGBTQ, all the rest of it. He doesn't want anything to do with that kind of stuff. He's even getting rid of the Rockefeller one-child policy. And yes, it's the Rockefeller one-child policy, because that was the Rockefellers that did that. Mao was a Yale sent from J.D. Rockefeller. That's fact. There's even photographs to support that. So,
real quick, let's say hi to a couple people. Hello, Suzanne. Good to see you. What's up, Gohagen? Glad you're here. Madcore Mofo. Yes. Going on, brother? What's going on with you? Good to see you. Hey, Vicky T. And Moose. Divinity. Divinity says, hashtag Orange Man bad. Oh,
yes,
no.
Indeed. Orange Man bad.
Moose says I'm stoned as fuck by now and forgot. I'm glad that I could actually go ahead and get you to come in here for a bit.
Yes, glad we could enlighten you.
Good stuff. All right, so to kind of keep it going here, so I was this caught my attention. I thought it was kind of interesting. Northrop Grumman in the U.S. Air Force introduced a B-21 Raider, the world's first, the 6th generation aircraft. So, if we're going to actually, employ some different types of aircraft into our abilities and might, it's kind of fun. So this is Northrop Grumman Corporation, the U.S. Air Force, unveiled the B-21 Raider to the world today. The B-21 joins... This is from December 2nd, 2022. Why was this actually something that was actually thrown at me like it was something that was new? That's dumb.
I don't know.
But, I never
The
actually
aliens.
thought, I really don't know why this was actually thrust at me. Like, here, you should come to this.
He had an alien spacecraft flying over his house and did it.
Maybe that's what happened. Somebody took over some
interference
waves for me. A little bit of interference. Let's kick that out.
Foul on the play,
Let's just go talk about this guy. Let's talk about this guy. This is the guy that's going to actually take over.
I told you it would come to this.
This guy.
They're taking over.
He's going to take over. He's going to take over for Daddy. Secession. George Soros hands son Alex control of his $25 billion empire.
What? Huh. Wait, like the whole thing? Or is this just like a surface level thing?
Well, we'll dig through it here real quick and we'll actually see. I'm having issues with bookmarks. I don't like it that way. Let's go this way. See, that looks much better. Secession. George Soros hands over to Alex. This is billionaire left-wing Democrat donor George Soros is handing control of his $25 billion financial empire to his younger son, Alex, who has vowed to pursue an even more ultra-liberal causes. Awesome. We weren't liberal enough. We need to go a little bit further to the left. Let's continue to do that. What's up, Tweety? The newly crowned 37-year-old heir told Wall Street Journal, we will broaden his father's famously woke interests to include issues like voting and abortion rights as well as gender equality. He also feels bound to inject himself into a day-to-day political affairs of nation ahead of the 2024 election. I'm more political, Alex observed when comparing himself to his Hungarian-born financier father. He has already visited the White House 17 times in just over a year to meet with the big name Democrats. Really? 17 times nothing big, just a couple handful of times that I've been invited to join the likenesses of Joe Biden in the White House. He also recently tweeted a picture of himself with the Vice President Kamala Harris of Open Society Foundations. The Soros family nonprofit currently directs about $1.5 billion a year to causes all around the planet. The young man's profile and Open Society website outlines he is also the founding chair of Bend the Arc Jewish Action and sits on the board's Bard College and Center of Jewish History, Central European University, the European Council of Foreign Relations, and International Crisis Group. The Soros scion told the outlet he worried about the possibility of Donald Trump returning to the White House, suggesting the family will contribute greatly to Democrats in the 2024 presidential election. As much as I would love to get money out of politics, as long as the other side is doing it, we will have to do it too, he said. During the interview, Alex reportedly urged Democratic figures to be clear on delivering their messages while being more patriotic and inclusive to win the trust of voters.
Wait.
Patriotic and inclusive on a
Patriotic.
Democrat side. Oh, Clumsy Clairvoyance gifted a Koolfrogg membership. Thank you, Clumsy. Looks like Moose Maneuver actually picked that up. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Go ahead. Patriotic.
I mean, what he's trying to like gaslight, he's trying to, do what his daddy taught him to do,
I don't see it. Just don't. How are they going to be more patriotic? Give up some of their inclusiveness? Because,
no, they'll just go. They'll try to go to war with Russia and call it patriotic. It's that kind of thing. And if you don't do your patriotic duty, see, it's forced patriotism. You say they define patriotic, and then they force that upon you. That's how this works.
Sure. This is as Breitbart News has chronicled previously, Soros-backed organizations funded millions of dollars to organizations dedicated to advocating for mass immigration, amnesty for illegal immigrants, organizations helping illegal aliens evade deportation from the United States, and organizations that work to normalize and legalize prostitution. Normalize prostitution.
By the way, he says, and it's a quote from him. As much as I would like to get money out of politics, as long as the other side is doing it, we will have to do it too.
Right.
What the hell dollars and cents of this individual's fortune has not gone to influencing politics in one form or fashion or another?
In many, many countries around the world.
I mean, George Soros was known as to many people in what was it, like the early 90s, I think, like mid 90s, early 90s. If I recall correctly, the news reports and other different things where people would actually refer to him as an economic terrorist. Now he's like, well, as much as I would love to get the money out of politics. Really? Your whole foundation is about that. What's the name of the foundation here? The Open Society Foundation, right?
Open Society.
Open Society. That is overtly political. The name itself, Open Society. You're trying to influence a quote unquote open and an influential society. That's or inclusive society. Pardon me. That's what this is. Open border, open society. That's literally this. The name of your organization is political in nature, and he wants to gaslight everybody Like we're all stupid. Like we don't know. Oh yeah, and guess what? You know how Daddy started off the narcissistic, sociopathic, evil, psychopathic insanity of his own? You know how he started off everything? Oh, working for the man with the tiny mustache. And he said it was the grandest years. This is a quote from George Soros himself. It was the, quote, grandest years of his life. The greatest years of his life was working for the man with the tiny mustache.
That's something.
Now he gives money
tumbling
to,
out of Hungary.
wait for it. He gives money to, the Open Society Foundation gives money to the people who are politically and ideologically directly descendant of the man with the tiny mustache.
You know, George Soros really does have an interesting story on how he actually came to be. You know, because, you know, when you actually look at, you know, as a little boy tumbling out of, you know, the country of Hungary through their, you know, their wars or whatever to actually go and be brought up in Germany and, you know, by Yazis, to moving himself out of there to, you know, become the philanthropist that he is, out of England and then the United States, is very interesting in itself for him to, you know, he's
it's called
so
the
old.
Anglo-American establishment that he was properly invited to join.
Right. He's so old, though. It's kind of amazing that he's actually finally handing stuff over to his son.
Maybe Kissinger should take a hint. Like,
well, see, what I'm thinking though is the reason that he just handed this over to his son is look at his age. Look at his age. How
all
old
he does is the microphone anymore.
He's
George Soros
100
is just
some odd years old, right? Well, right. He can't do much. But think about it. Think
That's
about
all he
this for a
does.
few seconds. Think about this.
That's literally him. That's all he does.
Think about this for a few seconds. If he's handing stuff over to his son now, why would he be doing such a thing? Is he almost done? Is he ready to actually expire?
Expire? George Soros should have expired like decades ago. How evil he is.
But he hasn't. He hasn't expired, and that's what I'm saying is because he hasn't, and he's still, you know, in and around the area. Is there something, you know, bigger that will actually come out of this? It's kind of an interesting thought. Different, you know, when you actually come down to it, is I bet that old man's about ready to actually keel over, and that's why he handed the Open Society over to his child.
Again,
so, all right.
George Soros, that's with the WEF, every Bilderberg group meeting, which is a big deal. And by the way, this year there were other private meetings even outside of Bilderberg, which was very interesting. And I have some looking in to do with that because I got caught up with other things in my life. I didn't get to catch everything that went on with the Bilderberg meetings. We went over that last year some, but on this show, but we didn't really go over too much of it. I think we said that the Bilderberg group meetings were happening, but we didn't go into too much depth.
We actually did an episode just on the Bilderberg group, I thought.
This year?
Not this year. Last year.
Yeah, not this year. That's what I was saying. Like last year we did. This year we didn't. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, this year we kind of there's a lot of things going on in the last few months that have actually taken me away from the stuff that I enjoy doing, and you know, maybe that's why we didn't actually get to the point, was because, you know, neither one of us was around or available to actually do just that.
Yeah. But yeah. So he's going to be the new darling face of the globalists, I suppose. Not that George Soros is going to go away, by the way. I mean,
no, not right away, but, you know, at the same time, he's going to have something to do with this in particular. You know, I swear to God, it has to be something where he's going to actually end up croaking here within a short bit. I really do. Really do.
Well, you would think.
I got so many.
We can always dream, can't we?
So while we're talking about dumb people, continue speaking about these people that are in
I'm
control of
sick
the
and tired
world.
of smart guys.
Oh, you didn't. You didn't check your email, did you?
No.
I gave you your admin back.
Well, then why didn't it come up here?
You have to actually accept it. You have to go to your email, your Proton. Go to your email and accept the abilities so that way you get your abilities back. I'll move on with this while you figure that out. Former Ukrainian prosecutor ID'd one document Americans should demand that will topple Biden, and for whatever reason, we've actually heard of Victor Shokin before. You remember this quid pro quo thing? Do you remember this particular situation?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, this thing. It's very interesting in itself. It was, real quick. It's just
I
a minute.
remember going over convincing our team or others to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was 6 hours. I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time. Well,
okay, so so many of us have actually seen that over and over again, where he's actually said that that is legit. What he's actually done. He's actually gone to the point of wielding his power to get people yeeted from positions or whatever, right? So this is a former chief prosecutor from Ukraine identified document. He said Americans should demand that allegedly proves beyond any doubt that President Joe Biden is corrupt. Holy, did I get rated? Hello, 120 people. Awesome. Thank you all for being here.
Gee.
If you haven't done so already, hit that like button. Share this out to all your friends. Say hi to us. We do talk to our chat. As much as we possibly can. Thank you all so much for being here. The prosecutor, Victor Shokin, was targeted for dismissal by Biden when he served as Barack Obama's vice president and was the Obama administration's point man in Ukraine at the time. On Friday, Chanel Ryan, a White House correspondent for One American News, reposted a 2019 interview she had with Shokin where he explained the allegations. At the time, Democrat-controlled House was preparing to impeach then President Donald Trump for the first time, alleging he engaged in quid pro quo with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Democrats charged that Trump threatened to withhold military aid unless Zelensky assisted in an investigation into alleged corruption actions by Biden and his son, Hunter Biden, the latter of whom was serving a profitable stint on the board of Ukrainian energy company that Shokin had once been investigating. The Senate found Trump innocent of the allegations. Biden, meanwhile, was seen in a video clip that surfaced explaining that he, as VP, actually threatened to withhold $1 billion in aid from then Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko unless he fired then Prosecutor General Shokin. Poroshenko did just that. In a subsequent interview with OAN, Shokin told Ryan that the transcript of a phone call between Biden and Poroshenko would allegedly prove he was using a quid pro quo bribe to force Ukrainians to halt a corruption investigation into a company his son was serving on, and the board member reported $50,000 a month. Burisma. The transcripts of Biden's telephone conversation with Poroshenko is where the truth will show itself. Americans must demand it. And if they do, they will see broad as day Joe Biden was illegally influencing foreign officials in order to protect his son Hunter and shield illegal money laundering activities, Shokins told Ryan. In a tweet containing a video clip of her interview, Ryan added, just 1 year after the interview in Kyiv, I found the recordings and reported on it. Shokin confirmed their authenticity. It says former Ukrainian prosecutor Viktor Shokin and Pride and Bribery, the transcript of Biden's telephone conversation. Pretty much what we just read there.
Biden and leftist media claim Shokin was corrupt and inept and had to be dismissed, despite the fact that not a single charge of corruption has ever been raised or proven against Shokin to date. To this, Shokin shrugs. Shokin says, people don't have to believe him. Just look at the transcripts. Biden's transcripts, that is. The transcripts of Biden's telephone conversations with Poroshenko, says Shokin, is where the truth will show itself. Americans must demand it. And if they do, they will see, broad as day, Joe Biden was illegally influencing foreign officials in order to protect his son, Hunter, and shield illegal money laundering activities. One American News verified on camera what Shokin has stated for months when he issued a stunning 12-page sworn affidavit to an Austrian court stating how Joe Biden was directly involved in interfering with active cases under investigation. For more, be sure to watch part 3 of our One American News Investigates.
So there you go.
Right. There you go.
See, like, this is much more in-depth and detailed than people think. Like, people just hear the Sean Hannity talking point of like, oh, Joe Biden did this stuff in Ukraine and like all the rest of Well, actually, there's a lot more in-depth detail than just simply Burisma. It's like there's a lot more to this story. There's a lot more to this corruption. This went on for a decade or more. Again, because the whole time he was vice president. And then even before that, when he was in the Senate, I mean, oh my God, I mean, of course he did stuff. But this is what we know about internationally because of him being the vice president for 8 years. So he was doing this the entirety of the time as he was vice president for 8 years. So there's some context there that I think people leave out of the conversation of just how long and how drastic. We're talking $5 million payments, this $1 million payment, that $1 million payment, whatever. Try that like over the course of a decade. How many times has this happened? They were saying that, and this may say this, Marjorie Taylor Greene said this, and Boebert said this and came out and said this after they came out of the skiff and after they were shown this stuff from the FBI and these other people, that they knew all these transfers were happening and that so many of these transfers were caught by the Treasury Department and were caught by FBI and so many other people through all these different shell companies that the Biden set up. And to the point that the people who were paying Hunter and Joe Biden went on the record laughing, stating that there's so much evidence here that it'll just take them a decade to gather it all up. Like there's just so many documents, there's so much stuff happening to gather it all up and to try to go after him for one big crime. Ha ha ha. That would take a decade to do. Like that's how much this went on. So,
right.
Just to have that context there, and they may go into this a little bit here. Like this is a decade's worth or more of all of this kind of stuff going on. Of pay to play.
That's the reason that I brought this up, is though it covers some older information, there's some newer information to go along with it to actually kind of bring a little bit of clarity to the situation. So it says, meanwhile, on Friday, Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene noted that there are 2 additional FBI forms containing damning information about Biden, besides the one that the House Oversight Committee has under subpoena. Committee Chairman James Coomer has said that the FD 1023 document created by the FBI based on the highly credible source indicates Biden's involvement in a pay-to-play scheme during his tenure as vice president. In
By
an
the way, the
exclusive
FD
interview,
document right there, that's like FD 1023.
Mhm.
An FD document is basically like it's a document specifically dealing with financial records and how it is highly suspect with people in power. Like that's exactly what that's supposed to. I forget exactly the acronym, whatever it's supposed to be there, but that's what it's supposed to represent. Like that's a literal documentation that federal officials are supposed to keep by law on people who they think there is a lot of suspicious activity. And the FBI and the Treasury Department both have said there are thousands of these documents on the Bidens, not just 10, not 20, not just one document that Sean Hannity reads off on his monologue or whatever the heck else that he does. That's useless cattle slop, as Darren Beatty likes to say, to the masses on Fox News. No. We're talking thousands of these FD, however many other the number is, however large and great the number gets, of these documents that they are by law supposed to do and they're supposed to keep, and yet they have notified nobody. They talked to nobody. The FBI didn't prosecute, didn't do anything. They went and purposefully hid Hillary Clinton's crimes, and they went after Donald Trump, knowing full freaking well that this was here. They said that everything on the laptop was bogus. They're not paying anybody. That's all Russian disinformation. And then we find out all the CIA, the FBI, was all lying about that when they had all their different things. They come together, they release it out to the media. This is all Russian disinformation. When they had documentation by law they're supposed to keep,
Right.
thousands of them clearly stating all of this corruption. That's how big this is. They just sweep everything under the rug. So when we say that these politicians are crooked and they're criminal
and
and
it
all the
was
rest of it,
Biden's VP stuff that is now links to all of this. Yes, exactly. And that's what this kind of goes and points out. Hello, Great Liquor over on that Rumble side of things. Anybody that's here that's actually more interested in liking that Rumble side of thing, there's a link for you. Go hit that link. You can go watch it over there, join chat over there if that's something that you'd prefer. Be sure that you hit that thumbs up button over there when you get there. So then, where was I? In an exclusive interview with the Daily Caller, Greene disclosed the contents of the document that she read as sensitive compartmented information facility. She mentioned that she and fellow members were prohibited from making copies or taking notes, but she's disregarded these restrictions and managed to take very detailed notes anyway. Greene told the caller that information in the subpoenaed document implicates Joe Biden as a pay-to-play scheme, bribery scheme.
Again, they're not allowed to take notes, but they prosecute Donald Trump. I mean, we are living in a literal dictatorship of the third world.
Yeah,
like, this is how bad this is.
Exactly.
This is how in your face these people are.
Right. That was investigated in prison where Hunter Biden sat on the board. In addition, she said that FBI informant is extremely credible and added that the document implicates our national security because it puts Americans at risk regarding the war in Ukraine. This is an impeachable document. President Biden should be impeached. Secondly, he should be prosecuted. This is unbelievable. It's a pay-to-play scheme. He took a bribe from a foreign national in a foreign country that paid millions of dollars, Greene told the outlet. He needs to be prosecuted for this, and I would argue that he should serve jail time.
Wait a minute, we're missing the lead there. Look at what was said. Implicates national security because it, quote, puts at risk regarding the war in Ukraine, puts Americans at risk.
Right, puts Americans at risk.
What Americans would be at risk? with the war in Ukraine. I thought we didn't have people over there. I thought this wasn't our thing. What are you talking about? Oh, wait, they just admitted to you, oh, we overthrew their government. We've been in control the whole time. We have people over there. This is all our operation. And if we release anything about Joe Biden's bullcrap, we might open up a whole other can of worms investigating Ukraine. And we might actually really take, the whole country will really, really seriously take a hard look at all of this and see this all for what it is, which is a NATO operation against Russia. We don't want to open up that can of worms. That's what they're saying. Protect our assets. Well, what assets? I thought we didn't have anybody. Oh, wait, we do. And wasn't that the whole thing with Joe Biden's corruption, right? Is that he can get away with all of this. He can do all of this because we really genuinely control that country. And it is the most corrupt country on the face of the planet. You could dig a whole you could get into a giant big can of worms with this and go in all kinds of rabbit holes and just keep going. And the FBI is like, no, we'll protect our assets. What assets? The Americans. What Americans? What are you talking about?
Which ones? Which ones do you speak of? Yeah, right.
Exactly.
So, to kind of keep it going here, so it says exclusive, Marjorie Taylor Greene, dumbfounded GOP colleagues will not call for Biden's impeachment. Of course they won't. There's too many rhinos that are there that would just refuse to actually go along with anything because they're like, oh, no, we can't do that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can bring them up on charges. You can actually impeach them. Maybe the House is thinking, well, because it's
if there was ever
House,
a reason to impeach a man from the presidency, this is
it.
prime example numero uno.
But maybe the House is actually looking at it as it's only going to make it through the House and not the Senate.
See, they flooded the first world with the third world across the border. Now we're living in third world status of our government. They are turning us into a third world banana republic in front of your face with a bunch of poor Hispanic people that don't speak the language of English, and they're spreading all over the country, and nobody here can understand them, or at least not fluently. Right? Like, I mean, right. And then many of them are poor. Many of them don't have jobs. They're told to get on welfare. They're given social security numbers. They're given $1,000. They're given phones. They're given wallets. They're given everything. They are literally from every angle turning us into a third world hellhole that then they will control. They are trying to degrade us from first world status to third and fourth world status to where America just becomes this crappy banana republic that's totally controlled like some crazy African dictatorship or something that has like ties to all of our globalist elite in the Anglo-American establishment. That's what this is. They're trying to break away every independent thought in America and just make it all a third world hellhole. That's what it is.
Wow.
At the end of the day, 30,000 foot view, that's the plan.
Go from like 120 all the way down to 20 within a few moments. That's fun. The rest of you that are still sticking around, go ahead, hit that like button for us. Let's just kind of kick this up here a little bit. It says, dumbfounded that the refusal of Republican House colleagues will call for impeachment. Following the pay-for-play allegations against Joe Biden for accepting the $5 million after threatening to withhold aid to Ukraine until a prosecutor probing the Ukraine energy company Burisma Holdings was fired, Greene expressed bewilderment about the lack of interest in impeachment proceedings. To be honest with you, I don't know, Greene said when asked what it would take for the House Republicans to call Joe Biden's impeachment. That's the part that literally leaves me dumbfounded, she said. I've already been texting a ton of colleagues. We have to impeach Biden. We have to impeach Biden, she said. I literally introduced articles of impeachment on this very issue on January 20th, 2021. She did. Immediately had articles of impeachment up for him. I really seriously think a lot of it has to do with this, like, we don't want to waste our time trying to impeach him, as they probably realized it would make it through the Senate, which is going to do the same exact thing that we did with Donald. I'm just saying, I get it. On the show. But it's going to do the same exact thing that Democrats did to Trump and actually make it worth nothing. make it worth nothing because they wasted their time trying to impeach Trump twice to have it not go through the Senate. Why would they do that? Why would they waste their money and their time on such a thing right now? Let's wait, and maybe we can actually just move on from the ridiculousness of Joe Biden in a timely manner. I really think if we go and impeach anybody like that or whatever, we really need to impeach his whole administration. But that's neither here nor there as well. Green's renewed call for impeachment comes as an FBI informant files on Thursday revealed the informant claims to have two pieces of evidence that show President Joe Biden received $5 million from Ukrainian energy company Burisma. Green, a member of the committee, told Breitbart News the FBI holds at least two more FD 1023 forms referenced by the FBI informant document reviewed by the committee Thursday. Green expects the committee will work to review those forms next week. In connection with Biden's Burisma business deal, Green also told Breitbart News the House Oversight Committee issued two subpoenas Friday to compel the information about Biden's Ukrainian transactions before Friday, and the committee that already subpoenaed at least four banks, Bank of America, Cathay Bank, JP Morgan Chase, and HSBC USA NA, and one individual. So it's kind of interesting that there's two more FD23 forms that are actually out there, and for them to actually just I really find it disturbing that Republicans are actually overlooking all of it. They're just like, let's not do this. It really seems like there's more and more rhinos that are part of it, anything right now than what we actually expect. I really want to know who actually rated me. 994 subs going back up. Yes, exactly. Let's go. I got so many tabs open, it's ridiculous. And of course I tried getting them in order, but that doesn't always work either. So much. Let's do. Got so many tabs. I'm just like, where do we go next? And I'm just gonna share the whole window of all tabs. We'll just do this. And I'll show you how many tabs are there. You can see all the tabs that are open. Look at that. Republicans trying to sneak carbon tax through the back door. Of course they are. Joe Biden says people in America are being thrown out of restaurants for being gay. Sure they are. The View hosts hold a meeting with federal prosecutors concerning Donald Trump. There's so much to go along with Donald Trump. It's ridiculous. California law will base electricity bills on income levels. Just a little picture of Marx there to go along with it. Biden's energy secretary lied to Congress about holding stocks. You can see plenty of things to talk about.
Oh, wonderful.
Transgenderism flag wonderfully placed dead center, totally going against all laws of the flag. Gay group slams Democrat governor as pervert for opening women's space to men. There's Katie Hobbs. Joe Biden, ugly people shield their kids from transgenderism. Yeah, ugly people shield their kids from transgenderism. That's where they are. The ugly ones. They're not coming for me. They're coming for you. Trump actually says straight out, they're coming after you. They don't care about him. Schiff ripped for complaining about $16 million fine. $16 million fine. Should we go? Let's do this one. Former House Intelligence Committee chairman and current U.S. Senate candidate Rep. Adam Schiff was blasted by Republicans after he complained on Friday about potentially being fined $16 million for falsely claiming for years to have evidence that then President Donald Trump colluded with Russia to win the 2016. Last week, Florida Republican Rep. Paulina Luna discussed the House Oversight Committee's ongoing effort to hold former Schiff accountable during an interview with Fox News. I will speak to Adam Schiff. Maria, I, I have a privilege resolution that I'm bringing to the floor, and we are going to fine that man $16 million for using his position to lie to the American people and ultimately push something that's not only destroyed our country, but ripped us apart, and I believe maybe even permanently damaging foreign relations. He is a criminal, and Adam Schiff, you will be held accountable. And yet, he was privileged to information that not even I or many of my colleagues would be able to see. Paulina Luna went on to say, he used that position. He absolutely aided and abetted a corrupt FBI into investigating a sitting president. That led Schiff to respond on Twitter. Last week, a GOP representative filed a motion to expel me from the U.S. House of Representatives. Just now, that same representative filed a motion to censor and fine me to the tune of $16 million. They aren't getting the message. It will not work. I will not back down. Okay, great. Don't back down. Don't back down. Don't do it.
Prime example
Don't do it,
of
because
gaslighting, ladies and gentlemen.
allow them to continuously come after you, and go ahead and get censured and actually brought up on charges and or be fined $16 million. His response in turn drew one from Luna, who roasted him for it. Back down from what, Adam? Name one Republican that won't vote to censure you. American and I are wondering, it's not up to you. Luna introduced a resolution in May to fine Schiff for making claims that she says triggered several pointless and unnecessary costly investigations. I just filed the privilege resolution HRES 437 to censure, condemn, and fine Rep. Adam Schiff $16 million, half the cost of Russian investigation, for this egregious abuse of trust. I, with my GOP colleagues, look forward to an imminent vote to hold the feckless man accountable, she wrote on Twitter. Luna also introduced a measure to expel Schiff from the House of Representatives after special counsel John Durham's report revealed he repeatedly lied about collusion between former President Donald Trump's 2016 campaign and Russia. For years, Schiff repeatedly lied to the country, claiming that he had evidence, and he said, of collusion while he was launching needless investigations into the allegation. Adam Schiff lied to the American people, Luna said. He used his position in the House Intelligence to push a lie that cost American taxpayers millions of dollars and abused the trust placed in him as chairman. He is a dishonor to the House of Representatives, and the Durham report makes clear that the Russian collusion was a lie from day one, and Schiff knowingly used his position in an attempt to divide our country. Earlier this year, Schiff has accused of leaking highly classified information for years in order to damage then President Trump. Former CIA Director and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has claimed that he is forced to limit how much information he is given to Schiff and his staff out of fear that it would be weaponized and selectively leaked to the media. I've been reading the Durham report somewhat. I'm hoping to actually get more back into that a little bit. I actually have some stuff that I actually needed to actually continue to do so. I've been doing that on the locals. That's just another opinion.locals.com. You make yourself over there. And eventually, yes, I'm going to start that back up and actually continue reading the Durham report. It is fairly interesting to go through. And yes, I do have the actual book. It's fun and very interesting. So, them bringing Anna Polina Luna actually bringing Schiff up on any of this and actually saying, we need to actually fine him $16 million is great. That's awesome. I love the fact that she's trying to do such a thing. What you got?
By the way, does this person look like they're like a super bright, intelligent,
Of course.
just totally in charge of the room? He knows
Yes,
he
you
knows
can
everything
see
that's
it
going
in his
on.
eyes.
You can see the confidence just blaring through, right? Like you can
see it in his eyes.
He's
Yes,
just super confident. He's into it. He knows exactly what's going on, right? I mean, he's just in charge of the whole room, right? I mean, like he's some evil genius. Like this bastard is nothing but a puppet. He is scared shiteless every time he's in front of the camera. I mean, look at these eyes. Look at these eyes. Look at this. Look at this face. Like every time you see him, he's always scared out of his mind. Every time. It's amazing. I mean, look at this. It's
every single picture that you find of him is like the same picture of him staring wide-eyed into that same camera. I'm saying.
I mean, look. Like, does that face look like the face of someone who's in charge or someone who's like, okay, I'm just doing what I'm told. I want to keep my Senate seat and my millions. So I'm just going to tell you everything I know. All of it.
Hey, that looks like the alien that landed in Nevada.
Yes. Crash.
Schiff is now 8 foot, 9 foot, 10 foot tall.
Blue skin, purple hair, whatever that is. My mic's on. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. But yeah, like I mean, this guy is not. Let's not lose sight of who this individual is. I mean, like, let's not lose track here.
Well, I get what you're trying to say.
He is not in charge.
But let's go back to some of this here. Here you go. Republicans are trying to sneak a carbon tax to the back door. Fresh from the looming train wreck that the deal to increase the debt limit, 4 Republican senators recently signed into legislation that would require the Biden administration to study the feasibility of a national tax on energy that would be collected at the gas pump in electricity and heating bills.
I mean, why the hell not? Like, they already gave him a limitless budget this past week. Like, what the hell?
I mean,
like, just give him everything.
Less. It's there was it did have a number on it.
There was no cap. There's no cap on spending in this last one.
There was a number. Didn't they put a number on it?
No cap.
I thought they did. Awesome.
They were talking about it.
Spend more money.
Hey,
send more money to Ukraine. Let's do all that.
Right. All leverage is gone. So screw it. Like, what the heck? Like, now these rhino freaks like Lindsey Graham want to, like, I guess, pass all this crap. Or Susan Collins from Maine wants to tell us all how she's so much better than us and how we need to, give up our right to gasoline, I guess.
Suzanne said that dude has had session or two with Hunter. Yes. It looked like he totally had a couple of sessions smoking crack with him.
He's on something.
Definitely. So the four Republicans, Senator Kramer, North Dakota, Cassidy out of Louisiana, Graham out of South Carolina, and Murkowski out of Alaska, joined five Democrats in asking Team Biden to determine the amount of energy used, the carbon dioxide emitted by various countries in the production of essentially everything that makes modern life possible: aluminum, iron, steel, plastic, crude oils, batteries, etc. Eventually, the information would be used to impose tariffs on those countries who, in the view of the Biden crew, emitted too much carbon dioxide while creating those products. Unfortunately for American consumers, and this is the important part of the story, the process will lead inevitably to the federal government setting a price of carbon dioxide in these United States. That means means only
Bingo.
one thing: a nationwide tax on carbon dioxide, which is of course really a tax on energy in all its forms. Such a tax would be incredibly regressive, would damage the economy and make everything grown, made, or moved more expensive.
That's the whole idea, isn't it? That's
Exactly.
exactly
Well,
the
yeah.
plan. That's
It's a
exactly
tax.
the
You got
idea.
to make things more expensive. If you didn't make things more expensive, how would we continue to fund the government to continue doing what they're doing?
Yeah, it's stealing wealth from you. It's finding every excuse to steal any amount of independent wealth that you have, bring it into them, and then oh dear, you can't pay this. Well, okay, we'll just have to take more control and more control. That's all. That's all it's about. And of course, the carbon tax thing, is to control your movements, what you eat, what you drink, where you sleep, how long you sleep. If you have a job in this future, what kind of job you have, how much money you're allowed to have, where that money is allowed to be spent, where it's not. It's all of this. Gee, I thought they were against, AOC. If I recall, Lindsey Graham had several things to say about AOC's Green New Deal. Funny, they just rebrand it and then just
He's
bring it
just
back.
going to go right along with her,
Right?
Because why wouldn't the Rhino do such a thing? The sad, sick part of the story is that Republican senators are fully aware of that conclusion. They're in fact counting on it. Senator Kramer told the Washington Post that we spend so much time as Republicans saying hell no to people who want to tax carbon. This is the low-hanging fruit of climate policy or trade policy or whatever you want to call it. In short, this is a way to break the bad news of a nationwide energy tax gently to the slow-witted voters who oppose the idea. Slow-witted voters. That's a good way to actually keep your constituency around. Go ahead and call them slow-witted voters and see what happens. People don't like it when you call them names. They don't like it when you call them stupid. They don't like it when you call them any name whatsoever. So when you go ahead and you call them, even something this fluffy as slow-witted, it can be taken to the point where you just might not have your job next time. Choose better words, jerk. In short, this is a way to break the bad news of nationwide energy tax gently to the slow-witted voters who oppose the idea. Senator Kramer wasn't done. He told E&E News that it's easier to make a second step once you've taken the first step. It can create a little momentum, and it gets people thinking about it in a different context than, oh my God, it's a carbon tax. Here's the problem. Kramer knows what he's proposing will, in fact, lead us directly to the carbon dioxide energy tax. He's counting on voters to be too stupid and too distracted to realize.
Bingo.
That's what they want. They want you just to be dumb and ignorant to the point, so that way you don't actually
He
pay
said it
attention
himself,
to
right?
what they're doing in his own words. Right there, in his own freaking words.
Well,
Suzanne
Mr.
says
Emmerich
Canada,
Jones has something
Canada
to say.
offered another $500 million to Ukraine. Go figure.
No surprises. Now, Mr. Emmerich Jones has something to say in his own words to all of this.
Fuck you and your New World Order.
Yeah, as you can all tell, I gave him his admin abilities back. Since we're speaking of carbon tax and electricity bills and whatnot, let's talk about this one. New California law will base electricity bills on income level.
Up yours, woke moralists.
From each according to his ability, to each accordance to his needs. A new law in California will force those who make more money to pay more for their electricity. Under the new rules, higher income earners will pay 7 times more than low income earners. Could you imagine you live in a house, a decent house, you got a husband, maybe a kid or two, and it's your husband makes a good penny, or maybe you're the one that's making the good penny, and you make some $180,000 in a year or something. And you're just like, yeah. Well, all of a sudden, the guy that lives down the street in the little one-room shack that refuses to go get a job and would rather sell drugs has a lower, quote unquote, income. All of a sudden, now you're paying for their electricity. Yeah.
Great how
sounds
that works, right?
great. Sounds exciting. I swear, California is just doing whatever they can to actually make them the worst, most dystopian
people
state in the country.
We have a couple of friends in California. I love you. I love you all dearly. Your friends, da 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 da. Get the hell out of California right damn now.
Go. Run fast.
Like, throw your crap at a trash bag. I don't like, just go. Run. Like, this is going to turn into a totalitarian hell. Give it like maybe 2 years. Maybe. I mean, it's this bad. Like, they already have brownouts. With this, they're going to have like total blackouts. I mean, this is what they want for the whole country.
Divinity. Yes. Leave California. I know you love it all so much. I get it. But I don't think California is a good place.
When they burn themselves out, then maybe you can go back, right? Like, okay, like they've burned out their whole globalist sort of utopia, NWO ideas here, and they kind of burned themselves out. Great. So, now we can come back. At the very least, get out of the cities.
I know we know at least a couple of them that actually have the tendency to, or that live in California. Y'all should get out of there. Get out of there as soon as you possibly can.
Even if you don't leave the state, just leave the major cities of California. Leave them. And get into a place where it's somewhat rural or whatever. Get out of those places. Get with people that are like-minded. If you're gonna end up living there in the state, at least move into that area. Don't live in a place where you could easily be dragged out of your home or something else happen to you, whether it's by the government or by gangs or whatever else. And now we have the drug cartels that have 10 times more influence now, thanks to the open border, which they will be utilizing that just like they do in the other third world countries. Again, turning us into a third world hell. So, yeah, all of those places that they claim to be escaping from, oh my God, well, a lot of them probably were. Little do they know, they're bringing their problems with them. Didn't leave them because they had to use some of these cartels to even get into the United States. So, yeah, it's just a circular problem, creating more and more problems everywhere they go. So this is not going to go away with that you moving to the United States. You've now brought this to us. Now we have this kind of crap in our country. Thank you. So California, you have a whole slew of things to be concerned about. Get out of the state, and if you can't get out of the state, at least get out of the major cities. That's what I would say. Because you're not you like, and the other thing too is that you've got to find some way to make your own power too, because they're going to shut off the freaking grid over there in California, or they're going to try to do some crazy crap.
Well, see, and that's the thing is why they're actually doing what they're doing is they're actually trying to actually be able to revamp their grid, because they say that's the issue and the problem on what's actually causing most of the wildfires in Canada, or in California itself. So when you actually look at it, you're just like, yeah,
yes, because of global warming.
Yeah, it's global warming bullshit.
Yeah, like all of those Canadian fires didn't spawn up all at the exact same time. Like that wasn't a thing that you could see on satellite. Oh wait, we did. Whoops. And like 2020's wildfires that went out everywhere in California and the West Coast, 60 of them totally, or 66 of them, pardon me, I guess it was 66 or somewhere in around 60 something, totally weren't set off by arson, by Antifa and Extinction Rebellion people. They totally weren't prosecuted. There's not mugshots. That's not a thing. No, it's all climate change, right? Of course. Of course. Shut up. Buy your Tesla and shut up. Well, I can't drive my Tesla anymore. Too bad then. You're not going anywhere. Good. Live in the coon pod. And we'll take
Every time I hear somebody talking about a Tesla, it always reminds me of the video of the guy that's stuck on the side of the road. And there's guys sitting on the side of the road, and a car pulls up behind him and asks him if he can help. And he's like, yeah, I need gas. And he's like, but you drive a Tesla. And he's like, yeah. Can you help me get some gas? And he's like, but you drive a Tesla. And he's like, yeah, here, let me show you. And he opens his trunk where he has a gas-powered generator with a plug that actually plugs into the car. If he could get some gas to put in the gas-powered generator, he can plug in his car right there on the spot and move himself down the road. Just ridiculous.
It's a little counterintuitive, don't you think?
Just a little.
Just a little.
The idiocy to go along with that, when you think about it, just like, no, you're never going to actually have electrical power ports or anywhere out in the middle of nowhere. You're going to have to actually be sure that you can make it for quite the distance, and that you're not going to actually be stuck on the side of the road waiting for somebody to get you a can of gas so you can charge yourself up right there on the spot to move on down the road.
Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
Anyway, now that we're done with intelligence and any amount of smartness at all.
Oh, here, we're
out.
Done with intelligence? Okay, here you go. Senator Josh Hawley says President Joe Biden's Energy Department Secretary Jennifer Granholm lied to Congress when she claimed in testimony that she did not hold individual stocks. On Friday, Granholm admitted that she held stocks as recently as last month. As Breitbart News reported, Granholm made the admission that in a letter that the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee revealed that she had and her husband had, in fact, held individual stocks in companies that her department oversees. I'm seriously sick of individuals being part of this government thinking that it's okay for them to own stocks in anything anyway, nonetheless, in their own department. It's very disturbing to actually see that's where they're actually going, and some just like they'll overlook it. Like, what, we do it too. I swear to God, every single person that's part of an administration, that's part of Congress, that's part of the House, the Senate, wherever you want to actually, you go and you take them to the point of you actually make them wear and who is actually supporting them. Each business have them wear like a race jacket that would actually show all of their sponsors and their that are out there. What's this?
in America.
Oh my God. That is hilarious.
That's hilarious.
Need a clip of her cackle.
I mean,
Or try hard cackle.
Throw that video that you had there, whatever, in private for me, and I'll see what I can do. I mistakenly told the committee that it did not own any individual stocks, whereas I should have said that I did not own any conflicting stocks. You're holding stocks in your own department. How is that not conflicting? In order to make my financial holdings consistent with my testimony on May 18th, 2023, I divested my remaining stock holdings, which consisted of stock of 6 companies, even though these assets were deemed non-conflicting. In April, Holly questioned Granholm about whether she held stocks at the time. She claimed she did not hold stocks and only held mutual funds. Do you own individual stocks, Madam Secretary? Holly asked. In which Granholm responded, no, I'm invested in mutual funds.
Oops.
Holly in the post on Twitter called Granholm old for seemingly deceiving Congress in regards to her stock trade portfolio. Here, let's listen to her. Oh, you can't. I gotta reshare the screen because of the way the audio shares. I really hate it. Gotta take away all the tabs just to show this the one.
Related to your department. This is from the Wall Street Journal. U.S. ethics officials in recent years have warned 1/3 of the Energy Department's senior officials own stock related to the agency's work. More than 130 officials in the Energy Department collectively reported about 2,700 trades of shares, bonds, and options in companies that ethics officers labeled as related to the agency's work. Do you own individual?
No kidding.
Madam Secretary?
No, I'm invested in mutual funds.
Good. So this report from CNBC last year that said that you violated stock disclosure law 9 times, that's not accurate?
I did fail to file a report in my first year that I thought was supposed to be filed at the end of the year and had to have been filed 3 months earlier.
Oh, I thought it was supposed to be filed at the end of the year, not before I started doing anything. I had no clue what I was actually doing. They pointed me to Energy Department for no reason whatsoever because, they felt that I was, adequate for the position because I'm part of a certain particular community.
So I was late. That was
And you don't own any individual stock now, so maybe you did when you first came and you converted them to mutual funds?
This was, it totally was the sale of what I had because I'm not owning individual stocks.
I understand. I don't own individual stock either for the same reason. My question to you then is, do you think that other senior members of your department or any department in the executive branch should own individual stock? Why shouldn't we just ban that like we ought to ban it for members of Congress?
I leave it to Congress. I think it's easier when you don't own individual stocks. However, we do have disclosure rules and a very rigorous ethics agency inside of the Department of Energy. If somebody owns an individual.
Yeah, inside the Department of Energy, we have rigorous rules. Yeah, but nobody else does. You're making it sound like every other part of this government or whatever doesn't, and only the Energy Department really has rigorous rules. But then again, you actually held actual stocks and not just the mutual funds.
Stock, and they work in the NNSA, and that stock happens to relate to something over in the EERE, and they're not involved in it at all. It's not considered an ethics violation.
What do you say about the report that 130 officials in the department collectively traded 2,700 shares of stock?
All of that has been vetted through
okay?
Because they're not trading in areas where they have any influence or are touching.
But the report is that these are companies.
I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you.
Department officials own stock in Exxon.
Say what?
I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you.
17
Like we
officials
just
own
play this
stock in
immature
Chevron.
dumbass game.
15 hold stock in both.
And they may not be doing anything related to fossil fuel. It may just be part of their portfolio,
Boy, that
but
looks.
it doesn't involve or influence.
Just because they have it in part of their portfolio doesn't mean that they're fully involved or it's important in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't matter. It's okay. Is it though?
In any way our actions.
It doesn't
does
influence
not.
their actions?
It
Owning the
absolutely does
individual
not.
stock doesn't it? Then why did you sell yours?
Absolutely does not, because I signed an ethics agreement with the President of the United States saying I would divest.
Well, presumably because he was rightly worried that owning these individual stocks would influence your decisions, don't you think?
Well, it's different when you're the head of a department and you have a whole agency.
Versus
When
the
you're in
regulator?
one part of an agency and you trade a stock that happens to be dealing with a completely other part. We have 100,000 people in the department, a very vast agency, and they're strewn about the country. If somebody over in NNSA buys some stock over that in Exxon, it doesn't involve their particular area of influence. And that's the influence part, I think, that you're objecting to.
Well, so I guess I don't understand.
I don't think that's what he's exactly objecting to. I think that he's actually objecting to anybody actually holding stock. Now, I'd have to actually question Senator Hawley and himself when it came down to it, if he actually holds any stocks in anything at all as well. Before I actually say that, she's totally wrong. Because is he also wrong? Does he actually not hold stocks anywhere? Most of these congressmen do, and that's how they get most of their money.
Understand your position. Your position is you're not concerned about 130 officials in the Energy Department collectively trading 2,700 shares of stock, including in Chevron, Exxon, and others?
I would be concerned if our ethics office was concerned, but they have reviewed all of the investments and all of
just to
these
be clear, so within the energy agency here, the energy secretary here, right? They're buying and selling stock in things that produce energy, like diesel and gas and oil and things, totally unrelated, says the energy secretary herself. It's very different.
And
I think it's
people
very
who are doing
fundamental.
individual stock trading are not involved in any decision making related to a stock that they purchase.
Well, I tell you what, I think I've got a solution, which is let's just ban it. Let's ban it for all executive department officials. Let's ban it for members of Congress. How about that?
I would not object to that.
Let me ask you about some.
I would not object to that.
Really?
But
You would
yet,
object to that?
you've actually gone to the point of actually holding individual stocks.
Production in America.
Laughing in your face the whole time, like they all do.
There's so many clip artists that are out there. If I can actually throw that particular article at you, can somebody go ahead and quickly cut that piece out for me? That'd be wonderful. I know that you're all super talented. I know you're all super talented. One of you grab that and do something, please. That'd be wonderful. Just a cackle or just her laugh.
It's like Mayorkas, like snickering and laughing as people are asking him about the border, and Mayorkas, the DHS secretary, right? It's like, oh, the border is secure. Oh, it's wonderful. Oh, what are you getting so upset about, Congressman? Literally in front of the Congress, in front of these committees, on camera, smiling with glee, snickering at them. This is what they do. They lie to your face and then they go, Right to your face. They don't care. They know what they're doing. They don't care the repercussions of it. They don't care. They're puppets of the killable elite class. They don't care. They feel like they're in the club, and you're not in the club. So screw you, peasant.
There's so much. So I guess there's like 4 articles that are kind of right or centered around the same kind of talking points. That'll keep us on something in particular here. Here you go. Joe Biden says people in America are being thrown out of restaurants for being gay. Really doubt that. I really do. Joe Biden on Saturday hosted Pride Month celebration picnic in the South Lawn of the White House. Biden's speech was full of gaffes and bizarre stories. Joe Biden again told the story about seeing 2 well-dressed men standing on the corner, kissing each other decades ago in Wilmington, Delaware. Was that you, Joe? Of course, this never happened. After mumbling through his speech, Biden wandered off and disappeared. Dr. Jill shouted at Joe Biden to come back to the stage after he disappeared in the middle of the Pride event. There must have been something that he was interested in sniffing. Just my
Among
opinion.
other things.
You just never know. Biden made his way back to the stage and continued to lie and make things up. Joe Biden said people in America are being thrown out of restaurants for being gay. When a person can be married in the morning and thrown out of the restaurant for being gay in the afternoon, something is still very wrong in America. I bet he says it better.
When a person can be married in the morning and thrown out of a restaurant for being gay in the afternoon, something is still very wrong in America.
Oh my God.
This is one of Biden's favorite lies. He made the same claim at the White House event in December.
Justice Thomas went even further, and he wrote the following quote: "We should reconsider all the court's substantive due process precedents, including Griswold, Lawrence, Obergefell." That means he thinks we should reconsider whether you got the right access to contraception. And yes, we should reconsider whether you have the right to marry who you love. And that's not only the challenge ahead. When a person can be married in the morning and thrown out of a restaurant for being gay in the afternoon, this is still wrong.
It's almost like there's no thought going on in his head.
Almost like he's just reading some hashed out crap that's sitting on a teleprompter.
Almost as if.
As if. It is Christians who are being thrown out of restaurants for their belief. That sounds more like it. Sounds more like it there, right?
Plenty of videos of that.
In December, a conservative Christian advocacy group was refused service and turned away from Metzger Bar and Butchery in Virginia. Members of Family Foundation were turned away from the Metzger Bar and Butchery for their beliefs. We have always refused service to anyone for making our staff feel uncomfortable and unsafe, and this was the driving force behind our decision. The restaurant said the Christian group made LGBTQ and female staffers feel threatened because of their beliefs. The restaurant staffers believe the Family Foundation seeks to deprive women LGBTQ plus persons of the basic rights in Virginia. Nobody wants to actually take away your quote unquote basic rights.
No. It's their sacraments, just like George Soros's son when he took over, right? What was the first 2 things? Abortion and LGBTQ. This is their satanic sacraments to belittle quote-unquote sex bullshit, and marriage and destroy it and destroy children and to kill children in the womb. This is their sacraments that we're talking about here. To the devil, of course. Oh, and that's not an exaggeration either, in case you were wondering. That's exactly what this is.
So then, like I said, we're gonna. There's like 4 articles here. There you go. Joe Biden centers the transgenderism flag on the White House. Did it wrong. They did it wrong. That center, that dead center position, that's supposed to be where the American flag is.
Yeah, if any place where the American flag goes, it should be in the center. Just like I watched a video of a federal prison putting a rainbow flag over top of the United States flag when they were hoisting up the colors for the day. I think it was a prison. I mean, the American flag should always be in the place of absolute prominence and right in the dead center, or at the top, or something like that. This is completely out of code. This is telling you these people obviously don't care about America, but the American governance as you know it, according to them anyway, is over, and it is now the NWO's fascistic destroy your children agenda with this dangling right in front of everybody. This disgrace, degeneracy.
So the article actually does explain some of the how it disrespected the nation's flag. So it says President Joe Biden put the left's Progress Pride flag, which is topped by pink and blue colors of transgender advocacy, at the center of the White House in his Pride celebration. The pro-transgender political display prompted many complaints that he disrespected the nation's flag, which is the primary symbol of the nation's solidarity with its ordinary citizens.
See, that's the thing. They don't care. This is a sign to you.
Don't care.
They like this is our thing. This is what we're doing, and we don't care about your country, or like this is our thing now. This is our globalist elite stuff. This is our club. This is our Atlanticist, Anglo-American establishment club, and we're going to take over. And this is right in your face. We don't care. America? Pfft, screw that.
What about America? We don't need to hear about that. Stop it. Let's talk about this. Biden's decision to center the controversial pink and blue hedge Progress Pride flag reflects the Democrats' need to goad the young progressive voters into the voting booth in 2024 amid his economy in declining wages, rising rents, and expanding civic chaos. Biden's display and the speeches at the event offered progressives the distracting and uplifting 2024 role of supporting rights with transgender people. Joe Biden celebrates Pride. Oh, yeah.
We want our kids just to be kids running around and, hey, eating too much sugar. To laugh with the friends that we
Eating too much sugar is funny and silly.
wish we saw more often. To find solace in the arms of people
Monsanto.
who see us for who we are. To celebrate the beauty and the resilience of this community.
Yay. She sounded horrible. Polls show that Americans are increasingly opposed to transgender ideology, which says that the government should help young people solve their personal and social problems by apparently changing their claim to sex. The opposition is growing as medical research exposes the dangers of debilitating and often irresistible transgender medical procedures.
Exactly. They're finding an excuse to mutilate and sterilize your children. And by telling them, oh, it's okay, little Bobby, you can be a girl for however long you want, and then just, whatever, you can go back to being yourself some other time or whatever. Like, it's totally fine. Just, come in here with the doctor under the knife and we'll do things, and it's, it'll be fine. And then they sterilize your children so they don't have children, and they mutilate your children.
What's
so
up,
that they're
Pastor Rapture sitting over on the Rumble side? So what's the Rumble exclusive? We will get there. There's a couple of Koof-related items that we can't really speak of over here. I'm going to actually talk about doing something about this dictatorship. I mean, there's nothing that we can really do about them. Even Republicans in themselves are refusing to actually go along and impeach the pile of crap.
Oh, but Dr. Fauci knows what you can do to help yourself. You can go get your jab and make sure that all of your kids get their jabs too.
I mean, it's disgusting. It's disgusting to actually see how far they've actually gone. I mean, they don't. Somebody was too stupid to realize that they actually put that flag in the dead center. They really did. They really did overlook what their job really was supposed to be. If they would have actually done it any other way, they would have put one American flag in the center and put two pride flags. That particular conversation would have never come up. That particular conversation would have actually stayed just the way it is. So then, Joe Biden in his idiocy of how he feels about such an issue goes ahead and calls people ugly. Really? Calls them ugly for shielding their kids from transgenderism.
If you ever wanted to see what gaslighting looks like, right there it is. Not that Joe Biden's gaslighting. I mean, he is, but he doesn't know that he is because he doesn't know who the hell he is or where the hell he is. But the people who are writing his speeches are gaslighting you because it is the transgenders who are the ugliest freaks on planet Earth. And so they're saying that normal male and female people are ugly as sin and you're terrible, but people who mutilate their bodies and try to morph their faces into looking like some crazed Botox-ridden freak of nature. Well, actually, there's nothing of nature involved in this, so it's not a freak of nature. It's just a freak. These freakazoids, these creepazoids, these whacked out, insane people that try to make themselves look like such hideous women if they're men, and then they're like, "Hello, I'm Caitlyn Jenner. I'm a woman." Well, as he tries to tell you on Fox News how much of a wonderful, beautiful woman that he is, and how we need to support all of the 5-year-olds who want to do that to themselves. But hey, he's against he's against like women, like transgender people in women's sports. So he's cool, right? Oh wait, no, actually he's not. He's just a piece of shite who just spawned all of this hell onto our society, or helped to, and was the face of it. So thanks. Right. But no thanks.
Pastor Raptor says, so if we as conservatives or ours, Republicans, are too scared to pick up the mantle of leadership or rifle and follow the leader, are we going to spend the next few years just watching it happen? It seems that way. It seems that we just going to sit back and allow them to run roughshod and continue pushing their disgusting ideologies.
Local and state governments, I would say, would be the biggest keys here in stopping a lot of things.
And no, I don't want to be a leader. I'm with you on that one. I really, is.
Well, that may
really
mean that you're the best leader for the
myself in that position to allow somebody to actually continue to tell me what I can and can't, say or do when it comes to the government, because us, and they're like, well, you got to go along with what we're saying, and you have to actually go along with this, whatever, gender affirming bullshit. Let's push through this real quick. It says President Joe Biden is using the bully pulpit to stigmatize parents who oppose transgenderism for their kids, even as growing library of studies confirms public concerns about the safety and government-backed medical interventions. Biden spoke ahead of the of the scheduled base-pleasing Pride Month celebration at the White House, using his platform to criticize adults who are protecting children from so-called gender-affirming treatments. Individuals who are worried about the far left's attempts to affirm a confused child's gender via hormone therapy, puberty blocker, and genital surgery are, according to Biden, hysterical. We have some hysterical, and I would argue prejudiced people who are engaged in what you see going on around the country. It's an appeal to fear, and it's an appeal that is unjustified and ugly. It's wrong, Biden continued. Biden addressed a reporter who claimed to speak to a family of transgender child, describing them as afraid and adding that they are considering leaving the country. The 80-year-old asked for the family's number so he could call them, or let them know the president has their back. It's the transgendered child. There's no such thing, in my opinion. In my opinion, it's not the child that's transgendered, it's the parent. It's the parent that actually has the mental capacity of a peanut that would actually go ahead and actually be like, yeah, my child's transgender and I want them to actually go ahead and get all the puberty blockers, this, that, and the others, so that they can become the opposite of what they were actually born as.
And I mean, I would make the argument about all of this LGBTQ, that the exact same thing. There is no 5-year-old, there is no 3-year-old, there is no real grown adult, because reality is reality, and you can't escape that. Sorry. It doesn't matter what letter of this, death cult alphabet you wanna affirm yourself as being. It doesn't matter. It's still trying to induct you into a death cult.
Mm-hmm.
And there is nothing natural about it. No one's born that way.
Right. Absolutely. I agree. The opposite of what they are, says Gohagen. Mm-hmm. It's wrong that extreme officials are pushing hateful bills targeting transgender children, terrifying families, and criminalizing doctors. These are our kids. These are our neighbors. It's cruel and it's callous, he said, repeating the description he used during the March appearance in Comedy Central's The Daily Show, where he criticized the state lawmakers and Governor Ron DeSantis for barring hormone therapy and sex change surgery for minors. According to Biden, such efforts are terrible, cruel, and close to sinful. Notably, Florida formally banned the mutilation of minors in the name of gender affirmation via SB 254.
Wait. Who said it was close to sinful? Again, just to be clear.
State lawmakers. He criticized the state lawmakers and Governor DeSantis. According to Biden, such efforts are terrible, cruel, and close to sinful. According to Biden.
Oh.
This is about Joe Biden. Joe Biden and his disgusting gender affirmation, whatever that he wants to actually push on all of our children. Yeah, no, that's Joe Biden's words. The action followed a report from Florida Medicaid, which found these treatments to be experimental and investigational in nature. Studies presenting the benefits of mental health, including those claiming that the services prevent suicide, are either low or very low quality and rely on unreliable methods such as surveys and retrospective analyses. Both of which are cross-sectional and highly biased. The document noted, adding that the evidence shows that the above treatments pose irreversible consequences, exacerbate or fail to alleviate existing mental conditions, and cause infertility or sterility. Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to go ahead and you're going to allow your child to immediately take any of these hormone replacement stuff or whatever to actually become something that they're not necessarily, Though they may think they are, they're really not. When you actually do so, you actually do and can hurt them for the rest of their life, and where they could never actually have children. They're now infertile or sterile, and there is no way or shape or form of actually reversing that.
Yep.
Once you do that, you're done. So imagine your 3-year-old, your 7-year-old coming up to you and actually, saying that they, supposedly feel some way because some teacher told them that it was okay to feel that way. And now all of a sudden you're going to go to the point of actually being like, well, I don't care about my legacy any longer. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Here you go. Let's continue to allow you to do what you want, so that way you don't ever have children, which would reduce the population in itself. You don't
Well,
say.
first we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. Now, if we do a really great job with, new, jabby stabbies, health care, reproductive health services, see what they're trying to do is like call this healthcare, right? And then, if we get them good health care, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%, the population.
Hello, tranny fluid. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Says, isn't there a psychological disorder where parents try to live vicariously through their kids and willing to harm them for validation? Yeah, I would almost assume that there is a particular disorder per se that I don't know the name off the top of my head on what that actually is, that parents actually do have when it comes to allowing them this disgusting show of dysphoria. I mean, really seriously is what it is. Given the current state of evidence, the above treatments do not conform with GAPMS and are experimental investigational. Further, the Wall Street Journal recently published an opinion piece by Gerald Posner, who observed that gender-affirming care for children is a human experiment on children and teens, the most vulnerable patients. In the piece, he notes that the drugs used to treat gender dysphoria, puberty blockers, have not been approved by the FDA to treat gender dysphoria specifically. Thus, the drug led by AbbVie's Lupron is prescribed to minors off-label. Off-label dispensing is legal. Some half of all prescriptions in the U.S. are for off-label uses, but off-label use circumvents the FDA's authority to examine drug safety and efficacy, especially when the patients are children. Some U.S. states have eliminated the need for parental consent for teens as young as 15 to start puberty blockers. The Center of 15 to start puberty blockers at the age of 15. I mean, when you actually look at it, most start going through puberty between the ages of 9 and 14. But yeah, that's, I still don't think that 15 is a good place to actually go, even though they, may have already started puberty. I really, really seriously believe that, if anybody's going to actually do any of this, should potentially have to wait until they're like 18 or 21 or something, where they may actually have a change of heart within those few years. As a minor at the age of 15, I couldn't imagine somebody trying to actually tell me that that would be something that would be worth my while, or to actually push on my children. The Center for Investigative Reporting revealed in 2017 that the FDA had received more than 10,000 adverse event reports from women who were given Lupron off-label as children to help them grow taller. They reported thinning in brittle bones, teeth that shed enamel or cracked, degenerated spinal discs, painful joints, radical mood swings, seizures, migraines, and suicidal thoughts. Some developed fibromyalgia. There are reports of fertility problems and cognitive issues. There's an awful lot of side effects to using Lupron. It sounds like, whatever you're actually going through mentally, and maybe you should actually go see some kind of psychologist before you actually go and put yourself on some Lupron to actually give yourself all these very disturbing and strange things that they actually want to actually say is okay, like seizures and migraines and suicidal thoughts. Ignoring the long-term dangers posed by unrestricted off-label dispensing of powerful puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, combined with large overdiagnosis of minors as gender dysphoric, borders the child abuse, he concluded. I mean, it really seriously is child abuse when it comes down to it. If you're actually forcing it on your child to actually do something because you feel that their thoughts and feelings are legit to actually be part of something that they're not, that's on you. That's on you, not the child, in my opinion. Biden's remark also follows his LGBTQ IAAP2S plus. They keep on changing the letters and lengthening these acronyms for absolutely no reason. Pride Month proclamation, which is also used to criticize states that are moving to protect children from mutilation. This. The compilation video unearthed of very stable LGBTQIA plus 2 and XYZ hashtag.
Hi, I'm a queer teacher.
I'm gender fluid. I am also a witch.
I would come out to my students every October on National Coming Out Day. I would use that as an opportunity for my students to learn how to receive somebody coming out to them.
I ended up telling my students that I was gay. So they were asking me if I was, because I kind of alluded that I was. So I kind of let them wonder and ponder on it. So instead of teaching social studies today, they just asked me a whole bunch of questions about being gay.
Let's talk about gender roles and talking about them in the classroom.
Talking about gender is not something that's out of the realm for children.
Research says that there is no age too young to talk about pretty much anything.
Kids as young as 3 and 4 are actually aware of their gender identity.
If they know about it, they're ready to learn about it.
Also very aware of who they like and who they don't like. They're very much ready for these topics and are way more accepting than adults when it comes to discussing these topics. My classroom is one of the gayest places probably on the planet.
Most days of the week, I come to school in stilettos so I can create an explicitly queer space for all of my students.
Everything is completely covered in rainbows. I've got flags everywhere. I've got queer literature.
Parents might complain, and there's actually a way to be really sneaky about supporting specifically queer students. Dropping a pink triangle somewhere in your room makes a huge difference because kids look for that.
Recently, we started wearing pronoun pins, and the kids get to pick a new pronoun pin. We have some that pick like she, her every single day, and we have some that change it up.
And I just double check with them if I call home what name they want, what pronouns they want, because a lot of them will just use their given name and their given pronouns. So just double check that.
I like to avoid gendered language when I talk to my students. My students really like guys, gals, and non-binary pals. I even refer to them as different animals, just to keep it light and fun.
Say that pre-K through 3rd grade are not ready for such topics is actually internalized homophobia and transphobia.
See, ladies and gentlemen, do you not get it yet? Do you not understand? This is always been about PEDO stuff. That is always what the LGBTQ thing has always been about. It's about abusing and manipulating and dehumanizing and denaturing people. And trying to get people to be accepting of that and to just give themselves over to this at a younger and younger and younger and younger age. That's the way this has always been. It's the way homosexuality has always been. Homosexual relationships have always been seen as, older individuals using, abusing, and manipulating younger people than themselves. This is the way it's always seen. All throughout history, it's always been seen that way. Now, all of a sudden, in the modern day, we think we can think of it differently. Like this is exactly what this stuff has always been about. Now it's just younger and younger ages of people who are of a sexually deviant mind, who have no love in their hearts for others, who only think about satisfying themselves sexually in some way, some form or fashion or another. That they will be willing to manipulate people mentally and emotionally and even physically outright at times, and to get them to be accepting, almost like Stockholm syndrome, to this abuse of their bodies themselves. That's what this has always been about. It is, as I described it earlier, a satanic sacrament that these people do to try and push this and support this. And of course, to do it to younger and younger ages, to get them to be immersed in it so that they can't tell the difference between right and wrong at all.
Tranny Flu says, now we know why the Salem witch trials happened. Potentially. I'm with Suzanne. Come near my child, find out. Don't even think about it. Not going to actually go along with any of that, and it's not going to be allowed. You actually try forcing my child to do anything. You're not going to like me. You're not going to like me.
By the way, this brings up the thing that I've been looking at this past week. There's a movie coming out that's been in the works for about 2 years now. It's about Operation Underground Railroad. And it's about child sex trafficking and human trafficking in general. And this is how it starts. This is what these people are feeding into. Our elites want to create a society of a third world hellhole where your children can be playing outside, and then just one day, one or two of them could just be up and gone because a bunch of SUVs come up, pull up, grab them off the street and run, and they're sold into giant elite sex rings. And, it's just whatever, because we've normalized this. It's okay. And love is love, you see. I mean, this is what this stuff is all about. This is what it's leading to normalize this in society to such an extent that people just are like, oh, well, I mean, I don't want that to happen to my kid, but hey, it is what it is. Hey, I mean, like people have all of this like perverse, like pornographic stuff, like this BDSM stuff. They were showing the children in Balenciaga being dressed in that kind of stuff. Like, this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to normalize abuse and normalize this kind of thing in society so that they can just simply snatch your children whenever they want. And there's, oh well, just get used to it, sweetie. Love is love. Right? Or are you like, that's just what it is. It's just the way it is. You'll find some pleasure in it. It'll be fine. Right? Like, that's what they want. This is what this stuff is all about. The movie that's coming out about all of that. Oh, later, sorry. The movie that's coming out about all that, by the way, that I was mentioning, it's called The Sound of Freedom, is what it's called. It's the movie, and it's about Tim Ballard, who's a former DHS agent who started Operation Underground Railroad, which is a fantastic organization. And I want to myself go into some depth about some of those things, possibly on my channel, because a lot of this stuff is not YouTube friendly. But yeah, I mean, that's what this stuff's all about, ladies and gentlemen. To normalize this to such a degree that PEDO stuff can happen anytime, any place, anywhere, especially from our elite groups that would love to do that to your kids. Just to have everything, because now in America, it's very stigmatized. There's laws against it. But if we can get rid of those things, well, then there's not as much pressure. And then, we can get people into the group. We can do whatever we want. It's fine. I mean, sure, people won't like it, but they'll just, have to, they'll just have to live under Stockholm syndrome. They'll just have to get used to it. We are your captors in this country, and we will do with your children as we please. That's what this is about. Make no mistake about it. Because even now, the largest sex trafficking rings are our Anglo-American establishment. Let's just be very clear. I mean, there are other groups that pay a lot to do this kind of stuff too. Let's just be clear. But that's what this is about. It's normalizing this and creating a society where this is all normalized. To the point that you just kind of, as a parent, you just might give up and be like, oh, well, you know, maybe they'll enjoy some like quote unquote BDSM or abusive sexual relationships with people because people do that with pornography and stuff. Oh, well, my kid got snatched up. Maybe they'll like being abused. Maybe they'll like having things done to them in different ways. You know, maybe it'll be fine.
Maybe.
Like that's what they want to do. And so here we have all these teachers and all these people who are out here and they're all talking about in these videos you just watched. Oh, let's talk about this with children. Let's normalize this with kids. It's all wonderful. It's all fine. And then, of course, these kids will be so scarred and so abused that they may do things like that to other people, or they may just shut out from society as a whole, not do anything in the world. And they probably won't have any kind of sexual relations with anybody else in a decent and loving and genuine way, in a Christian way by far. They won't have anything to do with that, and they won't have families. They won't have children themselves. And there you go, a little bit of depopulation in the mix there too. So, hey, I mean, it accomplishes so many things that they like. So, anyway.
Sure.
There's more to
so
be said, but that's,
there's a lot more to be said. And, you know, we bring it up almost on a regular basis, where us and, you know, we're like, all right, let's go off into this, you know, tangent subject or whatever. And we go off and we talk about it for a bit. And it's like, it's never going to end until, you know, more and more people are actually aware of the situations and what can actually happen as long as we continue to allow it to happen. It's going to get really hard for a lot of people to understand that there's so many of us that are against it, that we're so willing to actually talk out against it. And we're the ones that are actually be looking at like we're wrong. Like we shouldn't have to, you know, any say in any of this when it comes to it, because we're not with them. We're against them. We're against them, and they're the ones that matter, because they're the ones that need to actually, you know, have somebody look at them as being okay with them doing what they're doing. And I don't like it. Couple few more things before we actually do kick over to that Rumble side. This one is fairly interesting in itself. Here it says thousands of dead fish mysteriously show up on the Texas coast. And it's just that it says mysteriously. There's nothing in here that actually says exactly what happened. This here it says, as we get warmer Gulf water temperatures, the water itself has less capacity to hold dissolved oxygen, which of course is really important and essential for fish and other animals to breathe, which I get, but not to this mass level. Sorry about the ears. You know, so you can see the mass amount of fish that have been washed up on the coast of Texas. When it comes down to there's something that actually happened that made this occur. It's very scary to actually think that, you know, whatever it is that it was actually that did happen, that was actually pushed, could cause such damage. It's scary to think about. It's scary to think about. No thought from the shirt? Maybe this one will kick you.
My thoughts may not be very YouTube friendly.
Yeah, Texas Congresswoman introduces legislation to prevent China from buying U.S. farmland. So, you know, again, and finally another state that's actually stepping up to China and telling them to, you know, step off. We don't want your businesses to actually come and buy up all of our farmland and then, you know, produce absolutely no food. It's not going to be something that's going to actually be useful for us in the future, as we need food to eat and live. It says the Congresswoman from Texas introduced legislation aimed at preventing foreign adversaries, particularly China, from buying U.S. farmland. Beth Van Doyen, a member of House Committee of Ways and Means, introduced legislation June 9th known as Protecting America Farmland Act, H.R. 3996. The bill would amend the U.S. tax code, preventing undisclosed purchases from American farmland in connection with 60% exercise tax imposed in the country of concerned buyers. China is relentlessly trying to undermine our country, whether it's poisoning our citizens with fentanyl smuggled in and through the southern border, spying on us, or filling the global stage that has been left empty by the Biden administration. She added, American farmland, especially here in Texas, is the new front line in our fight against the Chinese Communist Party's aggressions. I'm glad to join the chairman, Jason Smith, in introducing this bill to keep our farmland from many hands, protecting our nation's farmers, supply chains, and security. According to the language of the bill, a country of concern is defined as any nation that is engaged in long-term pattern of serious instances of conduct significantly adverse to the national security of the United States. The bill names China, Cuba, Iran, North Korea, and Venezuela under socialist dictators Nicolas Maduro as countries of concern. China owned 383,935 acres of U.S. agricultural land at the end of 2021, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, while that only 0.9% of the total foreign-held land at the time. The acreage marked more than 50% increase from the end of 2018. We must protect America's agricultural resources from being snatched up by foreign adversaries and companies under their control, said Ways and Means Chairman Jason Smith. To prevent the Chinese Communist Party and other hostile foreign governments from staking claim in the U.S. farmland, Representative Van Doyen's bill expands an existing tax on foreign land sales and ratchets up the applicable tax rate by 400%. By protecting our agricultural land, we will increase our food and economic security. In recent months, the bills have been introduced in the House and Senate to block China from buying U.S. farmland. So when it comes down to it, from fish to farmland, it seems as though Texas is having some issues currently, and hopefully that bill can actually go ahead and
you don't say,
and protect Texas from actually becoming China, because that's pretty much what it's going to be if we keep on allowing China to purchase more and more farmland, stopping the growth of food.
Oh, unless Texas does some really, really drastic action, they're toast. I mean, just from everything of that nature, and then like on top of the how many people crossed the border the past month? Almost all of them. Well, not almost all of them. I think it was like around half of them, if not more, over half of them, just simply stayed in Texas. So they're talking about total demographic change there in Texas. So I mean, yeah, Texas has got a lot of problems. Of course, not to say that the rest of the country is not going to have issues, but hey.
Tranny Fluid says it's happening in Oklahoma like crazy, buying farms and dispensaries to produce weed. A lot of it is ran by slave labor, and end of the weed ends up in states where it's still illegal. Of course, I mean they got to produce it somewhere. That's the way it is. Few more things before we actually go kick over to that Rumble side. So it seems as though a portion of the interstate had actually collapsed in Philadelphia today after a massive tanker fire. Oops. Right. So then when it comes down to it, a section of Interstate 95 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania collapsed when a tanker truck went up in flames on Sunday. The officials warned drivers to stay clear of the area. The truck was hauling a petroleum product, which the blaze ignited, according to the Associated Press. Video footage shows the collapse of the Academy Road. Oops.
We begin with breaking news on I-95. Part of 95 has collapsed between exit 32 and exit 30 in Cotman. You can
It's like,
see
oh,
the
that's
huge plumes
massive.
of smoke and flames right here. We're
Fiery,
being
but
told a
mostly
tractor
peaceful.
trailer caught on fire, and that may have caused the collapse. All lanes are closed, and we're working to get a crew to the scene. We will bring you the very latest updates as soon as new information comes in. But once again, all lanes of I-95 are closed after a tractor trailer fire and partial collapse between exits 32 and 30.
So you can see, the collapse in itself is quite massive, and actually took out, passage through the area completely. Anybody that lives in and around the area, be warned. Take safety precautions when you can.
By the way, if you're actually in the area, why are you still living in the area? Get the hell out. What is wrong with you?
Right.
Move. Get up and run.
So there's a couple people that have actually donated to this fund for the likeness of the Marine that had supposedly strangled out a young man on the subway stations. There's a couple people that have actually stepped up to the plate to help it out. One in particular, there's Kid Rock. He says $5,000. You see Tim Pool says 20. So when it comes down to it, Kid Rock has actually stepped up and actually donated to this particular situation to actually help out Mr. Penny and his issues when it comes to him actually holding a particular assailant at bay, who eventually succumbed to himself. They say that this Daniel Penny supposedly strangled him out. I'm not going to actually claim that he did or didn't, because I don't know the exact truth on it or whatever. The video that I had seen actually did show that he had him in a hold for a bit, but it looked like he was actually alive when he let him go. For him to actually be charged in this case is kind of scary and disturbing in itself. And it seems as though there's plenty of people that are very interested in making sure that this quote unquote good Samaritan gets let go. There's 20 grand, like I said, from Tim Pool, and then there's the 5 grand from Kid Rock. Very, very interesting to actually see this man actually step up to the plate and actually take care of such a situation. Kind of fun in itself. That being said, we're actually going to go kick ourselves over. We're going to do a couple things on Koof over on the Rumble side. I'm going to actually shut the YouTube side off right now. Now, when I shut this off, anybody that doesn't come with, and actually go and click this link real quick to bring yourself over to the Rumble side to actually hear the couple things that we have to talk about here. Green monkey DNA, as well as ventilation protocols. When we actually get into these over on the Rumble side real quick, it's not going to take us very long, but still hit that Rumble link. Come bring yourself over and join us for the last few articles before we go away for the night. Those of you that just so happen to still be here, I see a bunch of you actually actively moving. Anybody that is here will actually be transferred over to Clumsy's chat, though she's not available for another half hour. Thank you all so very much. Hit that like button for me if you haven't already. Love y'all. Later.
Later, peeps on YouTube.